Hello and welcome to a new edition of the Presbyterian podcast with me, Gethin Russell-Jones. Helo, a chroeso I rhifyn newydd o'r podlediad Presbyteraidd gyda fi, Gethin Russell-Jones. In this edition, we're focusing on the busy month of May. I'll be talking with Mari Tutesigensi, Head of Christian Aid in Wales, about Christian Aid Week, and also her hopes for the new government that will be elected in the Senedd elections this month. Yn y rhifyn yma, dyn ni'n canolbwyntio ar fis Mai prysur. Byddai'n cael sgwrs gyda Mari Tutesigensi, Pennaeth Cymorth Cristnogol yma yng Nghymru, am Wythnos Cymorth Cristnogol, a hefyd ei gobeithion hi am y llywodraeth newydd fydd yn cael ei hethol yn etholiadau'r Senedd y mis yma. Ymuno dy fi nawr yw Mari Tutesigensi, Pennaeth Cymorth Cristnogol yma yng Nghymru. Croeso I ti, Mari.
Diolch, Gethin.
Wel, ti'n bod, ni ar drothwy Wythnos Cymorth Cristnogol. Mae'n dechrau wrthos nesaf, degfed o fis Mai. I ni nawr yn siarad ar y chweched o fis Mai. Fori, mae'r etholiad mawr yma yng Nghymru. So, cyn I ni sôn am Wythnos Cymorth Cristnogol, falle yn gyffredinol, beth yw, ti'n bod, gobeithion Cymorth Cristnogol, a falle elusennau eraill sy'n gweithio dramor, ti'n bod, beth yw'r, be ti'n gobeithio fydd yn digwydd? Pwy bynnag, pa bynnag parti fydd gyda'r pŵer mwyaf yn y Senedd, be hoffet ti weld?
Cwestiwn da. Mae Cymorth Cristnogol, mae diddordeb dyn ni wrth gwrs yr hyn fydd yn dod allan o'r etholiad yma, wythnos yma. I ni yn gobeithio gweld llywodraeth bydd, fel gyda pob llywodraeth, un bydd yn gweithredu dros gyfiawnder ac dros llywodraeth bydd yn gyfrifol ar lefel byd-eang, llywodraeth bydd yn blaenoriaethu yr argyfwng hinsawdd a cymryd camau ymarferol sydd yn cymryd cyfiawnder hinsawdd I ystyriaeth, targedau fel symud cloi a'r targedau ni fel cenedl a amryw o galwadau gwahanol gyda ni ynghyd â rwydweithiau gwahanol I ni'n ynghlwm ohonyn nhw yng Nghymru, felly Global Climate Justice Cymru, ac yn un rhan o grŵp Wales Overseas Agencies grŵp hefyd, yn ni codi llais gyda'n gilydd dros cyfiawnder byd-eang. Ni hefyd yn gobeithio gweld gweithredu dros cyfiawnder economaidd, bod ni'n rhoi cyfrifoldeb byd-eang jyst wrth canol pob penderfyniad yng nghanol fathau gwariant Cymru, sut ydyn ni fel Cymru yn defnyddio arian cyhoeddus, bod supply chains ni yn rhai sydd yn parchu hawliau dynol a safonau amgylcheddol a hefyd allai ddim anghofio dweud hwn, ond ni eisiau gweld llywodraeth bydd yn hyrwyddo heddwch yn y byd a un sydd yn gwneud hyn mewn ffordd gweledol iawn, ond trwy y penderfyniadau I ni wneud fel Cymru. Hwna fathau just yn snapshot, ond mae Wythnos Cymorth Cristnogol yn mae'n dod yng nghyd-destun yr etholiad, literally diwrnodau ar ôl. Felly, mae e'n cyfle arbennig, dwi'n meddwl, mae eglwysu grwpiau ecumenaidd, ysgolion, mae cymaint o weithgareddau wedi eu cynllunio ar gyfer Wythnos Cymorth Cristnogol, pethau gobeithiol iawn, y boreau coffi, yr oedfawon, a heriau gwahanol. I ni wir yn meddwl bod hwn jyst yn foment arbennig I ni fel Cristnogion yng Nghymru, gallu rannu gyda cymunedau ni a gwleidyddio newydd ni am y gobeith sydd gyda ni a y galwad ar bywydau ni, fod yn pobl sydd yn weithredu'n ffyddlon dros cyfiawnder a ddiweddar tlodi. Felly byddwn ni'n estyn anogaeth I gwrandawyr I meddyliwch am yr hyn gallwch chi wneud I cysylltu gyda gwleidyddio newydd chi yn y dyddiau cynnar a mi fydd yna llythyr gyda ni ar y gwefan i eglwysu, defnyddio fel fathau template fel starting point i wneud hynny.
So mae'r wythnos ar fi'n dechrau, Mari, o ble wyt ti'n eistedd yma yng Nghaerdydd, ac eto ti'n bod, yn cynrychioli Cymru gyfan. Beth yw'r snapshot? Beth sy'n digwydd? Pa fath o bethau fydd yn digwydd dros Gymru i gyd wythnos nesaf, ti'n meddwl?
Wel, mae Wythnos Cymorth Cristnogol wedi cychwyn yn barod, yn diwe. Yn barod, mae Gareth Hughes ym Mhrestatyn wedi gwneud her cerdded, wedi cerdded dros 24 awr ar hyd llwybr yr arfordir. Mae hwnna wedi digwydd rhyw cwpl o wythnosau yn ôl. A cymaint o bethau eraill ar y gweill, mae her 70k in May fi a'r teulu yn barod wedi cychwyn. Ni wedi bod fyny pen y fan a corn du. Ond hefyd un o'r pethau cyffroes wythnos yma, i ni wedi cynnal, bore yma actually, ni wedi cynnal oedfa rithiol neu gwasanaeth rithiol ar gyfer ysgolion cynradd Cymru. Felly just hanner awr o rannu am gwaith Cymorth Cristnogol yn Kenya, canu gyda'n gilydd, roedd Martin Geraint wedi sgwennu i ni llynedd, o'r enw Helo, helo, sut wyt ti? Mae gyd ynglyn â fod yn gymydog ffrind byd-eang da. Ond un o'r highlights roedd na ysgol o canol ddinas Nairobi wedi ymuno gyda ni ar y galwad yma yn creu cyswllt fyw a y grŵp o blant wedi canu yn ôl i ni yng Nghymru yn Swahili. A chywod, mae pethau fel yna, ma nhw'n ysbrydoli ni yn dyn nhw, a maen nhw'n sbarduno gweithredoedd pellach. Mae pobl yn paratoi amryw o pethau gwahanol, gwylibathon. Ni wedi clywed amdano eglwysu cricieth yn gwneud amryw o gweithgareddau gyda dŵr, pobl ifanc ar dalefail isaf yn gwneud loads o heriau gwahanol, yn cerdded fyny'r garth yn cario dŵr, o thema dŵr yn datblygu.
Gwylibathon, lycus sŵn o'n ni.
Ond ie, byddwn ni just yn annog, chywod, yn annog eith i ni fel unigolion, fel teuluoedd, o fel eglwysu, capeli, grwpiau cymunedol. Jyst i wneud rhywbeth yn ystod Wythnos Cymorth Cristnogol, rhywbeth yn ôl ein gallu ni i rannu am y gwaith anhygoel sydd yn cael ei wireddu trwy'r eglwysu, trwy gwaith Cymorth Cristnogol yn y byd.
A wythnos nesaf, pryd bynnag mae yr wythnos Cymorth Cristnogol wedi dechrau, so mae wedi dechrau i rai bobl yn barod, ond eich chi'n canolbwyntio ar dlodi trefol yn arbennig yn Kenya. So beth yw'r pryder fyna, neu beth yw pwrpas, y ffocws hwnna, Mari?
Ie, mae'r ymgyrch yn tywys ni i Nairobi, a ni'n ceisio codi ymwybyddiaeth am effaith tlodi trefol ar a newyn fel prinder bwyd fath yw thema yr wythnos. A ni'n gweld bod yr argyfwng hinsawdd a argyfwng dyled byd-eang yn effeithio yn dod reit lawr i lefel bywydau unigolion ac yn amharu ar bywyd dyddiol teuluoedd. Mae Kenya yn wlad sych iawn, a ni'n gweld oherwydd yr argyfwng hinsawdd, mae'n gwlad sych, ond pan mae glaw yn dod, mae'n gallu achosi llifogydd. Mae cyneuafau yn cael ei dinistrio oherwydd fatha'r chaos yn y tywydd. A mae hyn yn gwthio prisiau bwyd i fyny yn lle fel Kenya. Felly, i teuluoedd sydd yn byw ar yr ymylon yn lle, ni'n rhoi spotlight ar un cymuned anffurfiol ar enw Dagoretti yn Nairobi. Mae hwn yn fatha settlement anffurfiol. Mae'n gartref i bron i 300,000 o bobl, a mae'n un o tua 100 o cymunedau anffurfiol eraill yn y ddinas, jyst i roi fath sgeil cymunedau yma. Ond mae prisiau bwyd maen nhw'n rhy uchel ar gyfer pobl sydd yn byw mewn llefydd fel hyn, sydd gyda incwm bregus iawn, lle mae'n anodd i dod o hyd i waith sefydlog. A lle maen nhw yn gallu dod o hyd i bwyd yn y farchnad, yn aml iawn, bydd y cemegau dros y llysiau, y bwydydd gwahanol. Felly mae yna perygl amryw o peryglon gwahanol, lot o themau gwahanol, jyst yn dod at ei gilydd i wneud bywyd yn anodd iawn. A nes i sôn am argyfwng dyled hefyd, ni'n gweld, dros y blynyddoedd diwethaf, mae'r argyfwng Covid, yr argyfwng hinsawdd, a hefyd gwrthdaro yn ein byd ni, mae di gyrru borrowing benthyca i fyny, a mae hwn jyst yn mae jyst ddim yn gynaliadwy ar gyfer lle fel Kenya. Maen nhw'n gwario mwy ar ail talu dyledion nag maen nhw ar diogelwch bwyd, nag ar iechyd, nag ar addysg. Felly mae lot i facso amdano. Ond yn yr ymgyrch, ni'n ceisio rannu storïau o gobaith, ni'n rannu storis gan ein partner Cristnogol o'r enw Beacon of Hope. Ac oedd cyfarwyddwr Beacon of Hope di ymuno ni yng Nghymru jyst cwpl o fisoedd yn ôl. Maen nhw'n gwneud gwaith jyst anhygoel sydd yn cyrraedd cymaint o bobl. Maen nhw wedi bod yn dysgu teuluoedd i dyfu llysiau mewn mannau bach iawn. Llefydd byddwch chi jyst ddim yn meddwl byddwch chi'n gallu cael gardd, defnyddio gerddi mewn siap côn, so plannu i fyny mewn llefydd cyfyng, dysgu teuluoedd i casglu dŵr glaw, gwneud compost organic ei hun, a hefyd sut i defnyddio offer gwahanol i sychu bwyd fel maen nhw'n gallu cadw fe'n hirach. A ni'n gweld bod gwaith eitha syml fel hwn yn jyst gwneud byd o gwahaniaeth, a teuluoedd yn gallu tyfu bwydydd fel cael, tomatos, llysiau ei hun, a mae hwn yn dod â bwyd meithlon i'r teulu, ond mae hefyd yn helpu cynyddu incwm.
Well, I'm delighted now to be joined by Mari Tutesigensi, who is the head of Christian Aid in Wales. Croeso, welcome, Mari.
Diolch, Gethin.
So, Mari, we are going to be talking about Christian Aid Week, which is about to start. But of course, this year, and usually, Christian Aid Week is kind of, it's going to commence in the shadow of the election, the general elections happening here in Wales tomorrow being the 7th of May. So kind of, from Christian Aid's point of view, but also maybe more generally, the relief, the overseas relief kind of sector, if you like. I wonder what your hopes would be for whichever party forms a government here in Wales.
Yeah, just a bit of a busy week here in Wales this week. The elections and Christian Aid Week starting on Sunday. So I guess, as a charity, we believe that poverty is an outrage against humanity. It robs people of their dignity and it lets injustice thrive. And so, I say for any government, but particularly for Wales, for us, we want to see a Wales that will stand with our most marginalised global neighbours of all faiths and none. A Wales that takes global responsibility seriously, that drives action towards climate and economic justice, and a Wales that promotes peace. And there are lots of kind of very practical ways that a new government in Wales could go about tackling some of these things. How can we embed principles of equity and justice across our climate targets? How do we accelerate the green transition? How do we deepen support for climate impacted communities globally, and in things like our supply chains, and when we're thinking about how Wales spends ethically. How do we put steps in place to make sure that our public sector spending, procurement, our Welsh supply chains, that they uphold human rights and environmental standards, and that they promote peace across all of these different actions. So there are lots of different ways that we would love to see Wales more and more becoming a globally responsible nation. And Christian Aid Week, because it comes literally 3 days
Hmm.
after after Wales goes to the polls. It's just a really special timing, I guess you could say. But it's an important moment, isn't it, for us to be able to share with our communities, our new MSs, about the hope that we have as Christians, and the calling on our lives to act faithfully towards an end to poverty and injustice. I know with all of the different events that are lined up for Christian Aid Week across Wales already, the different services, the lunches, the big brekkies, the sponsored walks, so many other different activities. These are really wonderful, hopeful acts, aren't they? Let's use that moment to share with our communities, our decision makers, about why these things matter to us, and the reality of I guess the power of these kind of moments. That we believe that. These kind of moments of faith and action, they literally help families to survive poverty and violence. They support communities to rebuild after crisis in our world.
Well, from where you're sitting, Mari, here in Cardiff, but you're looking across the whole of Wales. You represent all of Wales for Christian Aid Wales, Cymorth Cristnogol. Give us a few, maybe some of the highlights. What do you think would be the highlights of Christian Aid Week? What are people doing? Some of the heroic things, crazy things, fun things that people will be
Yeah.
up to.
So yeah, Christian Aid Week has already started for us. Already, the Gareth Hughes in Prestatyn has done an incredible walking challenge, 24-hour walk along the North Wales coastal path. Um, which was an incredible challenge. So me and my family were taking part in the 70K in May, and two of our family members have got very tiny legs, so it's quite a challenge for them. But we've been at Pennaeth and Corn but there are hundreds of things lined up for the month of May, to be honest. Young people in Efau Lisaf doing the 70K in May challenge. They're going to be walking up the Garth with kind of water weights. They're going to be planting a herb garden in kind of solidarity with communities in Kenya. The churches in Criccieth are lining up gwylibathon, a wetathon. So
Hmm.
lots of things, lots of fun things relating to water. And then, of course, there's the coffee mornings, the soup lunches, the quiz nights. There's probably something happening near you, wherever you are.
I mean, generally speaking, Mary, what the process of raising funds for Christian Aid and other charities is that becoming, it's always a challenge, I guess. But I guess as the economic, the wider economic climate seems to get a little bit tighter, people have got less money
Mm,
or feel, more pinched than they did. Does that
mm.
must have an impact on
Yeah,
your work?
yeah. Well, the cost of living affects people everywhere, doesn't it? We see the reality of that here in Wales and in places like Kenya, that we're spotlighting this
Mm.
Christian Aid Week. And I think, um, well, we believe that Christian Aid Week is it's a really important moment. It's been going for 69 years. So next
Mm.
year will be a Christian Aid Week's 70th anniversary, Christian Aid Week's 70th anniversary. It's a moment of faith and action, and we're trying to mobilize as much really important critical funding for Christian aid programs throughout the world. But I think our encouragement to people would always be, we do what we can in wneud yn ôl ein gallu. And there's always we would say that there's something for everybody in Christian Aid Week, whether that's giving, whether that's doing a bit of fundraising, whether that's taking action, writing to your new MS about why Christian Aid Week is important, and also it's that constant prayer for our work as well. So I think there's something for everybody in Christian Aid Week, and the encouragement would be to do something. Gwnewch rhywbeth.
Gwnewch rhywbeth. And well, next week as well, Mari, you're focusing particularly on urban poverty in Kenya and one specific community in Kenya. So I'm wondering if you could explain to us, where that is and maybe why this particular focus.
Yes, so this year in the Christian Aid Week Appeal, we're focusing in on the reality of urban poverty, sort of coupled with the impact of the climate crisis and the global debt crisis on communities in the heart of Nairobi in Kenya. And we're spotlighting an incredible project where we're seeing families in the city growing fruit and vegetables in really tiny places you may not imagine it be possible to grow food, from alleyways to rooftops. But we're honing in on the stories of a couple of families in a place called Dagoretti. So Dagoretti is an informal settlement in the middle of Nairobi. It's home to 280,000 people, and Dagoretti is one of about 100 of these communities in Nairobi. And I guess just to give a little bit of context, so I think people will know, when you think of Kenya, you think of a very dry, arid land, and that's true for much of much of Kenya. And we've been seeing that the climate crisis, kind of extreme weather impacting on communities, on the availability of food. So seeing that food prices are being pushed up. And so for people who are living in the middle of the city, in Nairobi, food prices are just kind of well beyond what might be possible for, a kind of a family's income. But more than that, we're finding that the food that might be sold in the markets, they have harmful chemicals on them, which of course impacts on people's health then too. And so we're spotlighting the work of a Christian partner in Nairobi called Beacon of Hope. And they're doing an incredible work working with families to try to support them to grow hope, literally grow hope in small spaces, down alleyways, and to grow kind of vertical gardens. I don't know if people have heard of sort of cone gardens, but also kind of teaching communities how to collect water, how to make their own compost, and how to dry food as well, so that they can keep food for longer. And just seeing the amazing impact that this has on family, different generations within the family.
Mari, what is that? Tell us more about a vertical garden or a cone garden. Sounds intriguing.
Well, I would encourage people to go and have a look on our YouTube to watch the Christian Aid Week film to get a visual of what that's like. But if you can imagine, just kind of growing in layers. So say if you have a round kind of a bottom layer, and then you would put another, I'm not describing this very well, but put another layer on top of the first layer. So you're growing up in sort of a cone shape to make maximum use of the space that you've got.
Yeah.
Also growing things like hanging gardens. So growing in layers rather than just one sort of plot on the floor, which might be more traditional for us here.
Wow. It's fascinating. Sorry,
you can tell that I'm not a gardener.
So that's the focus, and it's highlighting the plight of people caught in urban poverty, but also the ways in which people are kind of, with some support, are able to break through that, break out of that, and create a more sustainable future for themselves.
Yeah, so we're seeing, the impact on, just a couple of families' lives who are really honing in on in the appeal that they're not able to just kind of they're able to grow food. So things like kale, tomatoes, spinach, so things that really increase sort of nutrition in a family's diet. But that they're able to, sell on some of um, these fruit and veg that they're growing as well to earn an income in the market. And it sounds really simple, doesn't it? But it's it's transformational. And Frida, one of the women whose stories we're telling, this Christian aid, which says, I can plan now, and I can help my own family. Um, so there's lots to be thankful for.
Next up, and we're travelling to Sandfields in Port Talbot to find out more about a vibrant Christian community reaching out and meeting needs. So, I'm joined now by the Reverend Andrew Saunders, minister of Sandfields Presbyterian Church in Port Talbot. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Gethin. It's lovely to be here.
Congratulations are in order as well, because you've recently been ordained, so you are no longer simply a mister, but you can put the Reverend in front of your name as
That's
well.
right.
So I'm wondering, Andrew, before we get to talk about your work in Sandfields, what's happening there, because I know it's a very busy church, tell us about, what led you up towards ordination? How long a journey was that? Spiritual journey, if you like.
Oh, well, in some ways, I suppose you could say it's been a 62-year journey. Some of my very earliest memories are going to a little Hope Church in Porthcawl to Sunday school, just around the corner from my house. That was in the late 60s. But then when I was about 11, we joined an Anglican church in Porthcawl. I joined the choir, despite being totally unable to sing, but I made the numbers up. And then after a year or two of that, I became a server, an acolyte, holding the candles, swinging the incense. It was a very high Anglican church. I was there for, at least 40 years, possibly just a little bit more. And throughout all those years, I was serving at the front of church. And one of the memories I've got, I shared this with many people. When I was about 14 or 15, I used to hold services, communion services in my bedroom for my parents and my brother. So I used to dress up. So I think the call goes back quite a long way. But then life takes over work. I had a decent job in the steelworks here in Port Talbot, marriage, children. Then in 2012, I joined Grace Community Church in Porthcawl, which was a free, independent evangelical church. Very, very good church. And I suddenly realized that despite having gone to church virtually all of my life, I didn't know Jesus. I knew a lot about him. I heard the gospel every single week, but I didn't know him in a form of a personal relationship. So having attended Grace for about a year, Tina, my wife, and I were both baptized together by the pastor, Tom. And I used to help out with running the men's ministry there. And I was going to do a course at Union, although it was Wales Evangelical School of Theology then, the Porter Book training. And I was due to start that, I think it was 2015, but a week before it started, I received a phone call saying that I was the only one who'd booked on for that year. So they cancelled the course. So I thought, oh, well, I said, ministry's not for me. But 2016, my father passed away and we moved to Port Talbot. And after about a year driving back and forth to Porthcawl, I said to my wife, I think we should join the church in Port Talbot. So I think it's important to be a part of a church where you live in your own community. So after much searching, we joined Sandfields Presbyterian Church. And within 6 months, the pastor's wife mentioned to me about the Presbyterian Mission Program, which is a gift testing program where you work for them for a year, do some training, just to see if you've got any skills in preaching, leading, etc. I ended up on the 1 year program for 4 years. because COVID got in the way for 18 months. I was on furlough for 18 months, but it was a wonderful year. I spent 3 years at Cardiff Baptist College and by extension Cardiff University, which was a bit of an eye-opener for me,
Hmm.
having not been in school for many, many years. And say much on the job training for the past 3 years I've been leading Sandfields. And then finally, 2 weeks ago, April the 14th, I was ordained at the association, which was held at Sandfields. A very
Wow.
special time.
Quite a journey. So what difference do you think, is obviously an impossible question, this actually, Andrew, but I'm wondering what difference you think this will make to you?
I've given this a lot of thought as I've been asked this question quite a few times. What's going to change? I don't actually think that much is going to change. I'm still going to carry on doing the work I've been doing. I travel around different churches, preaching on Sundays and leading services. I think it just gives me a bit more. It's more an internal thing. The funny thing is, the first Sunday after I was accepted, after seeing the ordination panel in Aberystwyth last October, I was preaching at a church in Swansea, and because it was cold autumn afternoon, we were in the vestry rather than the big chapel space with the balcony and everything. And literally within arm's reach of me was a picture of Daniel Rowlands, who's quite a serious looking man. And it's one of those pictures where the eyes follow you wherever you go. And it suddenly dawned on me just how serious it was. And obviously I knew how serious being ordained was all along, but it really struck me then that this isn't something you take lightly. It's very serious. So I feel it's deep. My walk with Jesus has deepened certainly over the last few months. I've been spending a lot more time in my Bible, finding time to do that. And it's just an affirmation of the calling. And I think there are occasions I will wear a dog collar, for certain events and hospital visits, but there are times when you're speaking to people with a dog collar, I feel you may be taking a little bit more seriously, or people will open up to you. I've already found that people have opened up to me the way they never have before. But on a day-to-day basis, other than that, things at the church will remain the same. Hopefully, we'll continue to grow, obviously, but I think that's.
Well, let's move on to Sandfields itself then, Andrew. You serve there with your wife Tina. You've been there for a few years, I know. In the capacity of leaders as well as having been there as members before that. Tell us a little bit. Open a window into the life at Sandfields. Maybe for those who don't know, where Sandfields is in relation to the town of Port Talbot.
Right.
And the kind of ministry that is exercised through the church.
Okay. Well, Sandfields when it was built, it was the biggest council estate in Wales, if not the UK. It's got a population of around 14,000 at the moment, I believe. It's part council housing now and privately owned. It's a very, very large estate, as you can gather, with so many people. There's a lot of social issues there, a lot of drug problems, a lot of alcohol problems, but we're located on the beach, looking out onto Swansea Bay, onto the Gower. We've got an absolutely beautiful beach, and the people are wonderful. They'll give you their last. They are a true community down here in a way I've not seen anywhere else. I know we're not unique in that, but it's a wonderful place to live.
So it's a big, huge, sprawling estate.
Yes.
If memory serves me right, the Sandfields itself began as a kind of, I think I'm right in saying, as a kind of a mission project from a church in Liverpool.
That's right. Fitzclarence Church. The original name of Sandfields is Fitzclarence Presbyterian Church, and it was part funded by the Steelworks in Port Talbot, but also by the Liverpool Welsh Presbytery. And one of their churches was based in, I believe, Fitzclarence Road, Liverpool. It's no longer there. So we've got a lovely board inside of Port Talbot, as you walk in the church, commemorating this. It's a lovely old plaque to have with a bit of the history of the church. It's a very modern-looking building. It was built in 1959, so it doesn't remotely resemble a church or anything.
No.
If I'm honest, it looks like a sports hall until we walk inside, but it serves its purpose very well indeed.
Exactly. And you mentioned the steelworks there. Andrew, a bit earlier, with the decline of steelmaking in Portol, but that must have had a huge impact on the area, on Sandfields, and I guess on the church as well.
Yes, well, if I'm perfectly honest, the impact hasn't been as huge as we'd expected, but there's most definitely an impact. For instance, we run a baby bank, and we started off, it was very slow building up, but we did see when the steelworks closed, or the blast furnaces closed, we started growing in numbers, and we're up to about 20 families a week now, every Thursday, and we do meet people during the week privately if they've been referred by Women's Aid, for instance, or social workers, and they don't want to come in when the church is full of people. But we're open for baby bank every Thursday from 11 o'clock till 2. But interestingly, we're getting a lot of people coming in who are employed. We're getting a lot of single men coming in working now, and the adult side is growing because we were originally a baby bank, but we're now clothing bank for all ages. So that side has certainly grown, and we've recently started an emergency food bank as well.
Well, you're touching on a few projects here. I wonder if you could tell us, just kind of give us the list of stuff that, because your doors are open every day.
Yes,
I think.
we're open every day.
So tell us, what's happening in Sandfields? What do you do?
We get called all the time. We get calls from social workers that I touched on, Women's Aid, if they want us to meet them at the church so we can have a private, well, Tina deals with Women's Aid and women, obviously. But we also get phone calls from the hospital, the local Neath Talbot Hospital. It started about, it's got to be close to 3 years ago now. They had somebody in who was homeless, and they had to destroy all their clothes. And there was nothing for them to get changed into. They contacted us, seeing if we could help. We did have a bundle, plus also a hygiene pack, deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, etc., underwear. We do different men's and ladies as well. And now we provide them every 3 to 4 months. We take approximately a dozen packs along, and if they need any more, they'll give us a ring. So that side has grown quite well. So we work in the local hospital. But Baby Bank, anyone can come in. It's non-referral. You're allowed to come in once a fortnight. But we stock everything you can possibly imagine besides food. We can supply for new mums, Moses baskets, pushchairs and prams, cots. We can source all sorts of things. So Tina's made an amazing number of contacts. So although we might not be able to store large items at the church, we can often source them from other places.
Yeah.
But as for clothing, anything you can think of, and baby bottles, feeding materials, so much sterilizing equipment, toys.
Wow. And you mentioned a food bank, I think, as well, that you're involved with.
Yes, well, it's something we've been doing off and on for a couple of years now, but we've now formalised it a bit. We're not part of the Trussell Trust, but we do have several store cupboards now full of food. People need to be referred by doctor, health worker, whatever, and we can do up to a 3-day emergency supply of food up to 3 times a year. This is three meals a day based on how many people in the house, so everyone gets something. And we're starting to get a few inquiries. This has only been open 5 to 6 weeks officially, so word needs to get out there still a bit more. But we have helped people on a number of occasions who've had house fires, for instance. There have been, over the last 3 years, at least 2 families have lost their homes in a house fire, and they've come to us for help, and thankfully we've been able to help them.
Okay. Who donates the food to you then, Andrew? So, for you to give away?
Occasionally we get donations of food, but we receive funding from a few other churches that started helping us. At association, I was asked to speak on the work at Sandfields, and several churches from a wider area, include up to as far as Mid Wales, are now helping us by providing gift cards for Morrison's, for instance, and some have donated cash from collections at their church. So we buy the food ourselves primarily.
Okay. And coming up, I think next week, we're now kind of it's now the 6th of May. I think next week, maybe even a week today,
Yes.
Andrew, there's something called, I think it's called the South Wales Missions Rally that you're hosting, and it's kind of under the sponsorship of the Presbyterian Church of Wales. For those who know nothing about this, what is it, and can anybody come? And if you give the times and that sort of thing as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, it used to be called the Women's Mission Rally because it's funded by the Women's Department of the Presbyterian Church, but they realised that I think that husbands were dropping their wives off and then hanging around for a few hours, so they started inviting men in, and it's just become a mission rally now rather than a women's mission rally. This year, for instance, we got a speaker coming from London, Miriam Watlin, but we got people from other churches in the fairly local area coming down to give talks on the work that they are doing. We've got Irene Phillips from Reaching Romania, Linda Boyce from Gobeithion Clothing. I think you're probably aware of that, aren't you? Myself and my wife are giving a talk on the work at Sandfields, and Pat and Marjorie Thomas are coming down from Llandovery to speak of the work they're doing up there. But it's a really nice time of fellowship. There's food involved. It wouldn't be anything if there wasn't food involved, would there? And that runs from, I'm just putting my head down to check, 11 till 3:30 next Wednesday, the 13th of May at Sandfields.
So the idea is that people come along and it's like a kind of showcase into what's happening across South Wales.
That's it, yes. Just to encourage others. It's nice to see what other churches are doing in other areas. We can pick each other's brains on different things, different aspects of our work and that. So it's a really, really nice day. There's a time of worship, there's a short service involved. But it's just a lovely time to meet people from the Presbyterian Church and other churches who may come, just to share the gospel together and fellowship with one another.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. Make sure you get the next edition as soon as it's released by subscribing to it wherever you found it. And also please leave a review wherever you found it. And so, until next time, God bless you all. Diolch am wrando. Gobeithio wnaethoch chi fwynhau'r podlediad. Cofiwch dan ysgrifo mwyn cael y rhifyn nesaf cyn gynted a gydaw allan. Cofiwch I adael adolygiad, ble bynnag a ddeithoch o hyd iddo. Ac felly, tan y tro nesaf, pob bendydd I chi gyd.